Good morning, people of Earth. Welcome to the fucking news with me, Deke Jackson, on the 18th of November, 2020. The planet's fucked, it's your fault, and it's getting worse. I hope you have a great day. I really do. I hope you seize the day. I hope you're going to do something that fills you with joy and makes life worth living, because this is as good as it gets. So make the most of it. Before going into today's pish that so-called journalists have decided to dump on the floor of our collective consciousness, I should like to deal with a couple of comments. This is a kind of editorial, if you like. The first one I'd like to deal with is a guy who wrote to me saying, "You should have been studying maths while you were playing your guitar because, I can't believe you can't work out why nobody died in the vaccine trials out of 100 infected people." And I hope he's left this comment up because it reveals what a total cunt and dumb fuck moron this guy is. He says, "The reason nobody died from 100 infected people in those trials is because the infection mortality rate is so low. It's 0.23% to 1.1%. Gee." Good morning, people tuning in. Gee, that means it's not dangerous. It's like you're making my point for me. Thank you. Thank you for bringing your stupidity to my attention. Infection mortality rates of 0.23% do not require the government to take control of my life, you collaborating cunt. I hope you catch it and die horribly wheezing for your breath because you've got some genetic propensity to be struck down by it. I hope they round you up and your family and inject you with goo that makes your brain swell and your eyes pop out and you shit your fucking fear out your arsehole, you cunt. Not only do I wish all that for you, but I hope you leave your comment up so that your stupidity remains like a shining light beaming out of my fucking YouTube page for everybody to see, you total fucking dimbulb. Infection mortality rates so low, good morning Lee, do not require the government to take control of everybody's life. They do not require a compulsory... Oh, speaking of compulsory, this guy goes on. If compulsory fascism, for that was the title of the video, is what is needed to protect me from people like you and your stupidity, then I'm all for it. Really? Really? I mean, you can write that sentence, these words can trip off your keyboard and you don't feel ashamed so deep you want to kill yourself? Really? I hope more of you refuseniks and collaborators tune in and leave me these pithy nuggets for me to get my teeth into, because really you are collaborating evil fucktards, and I wish you would all die. Really, come round to my house, I'll spit down your throat and kick your arse. So, there was another comment. I'll try and remember that as well. Oh, yes. Oh, I know 2 people have died and one of them was 19. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. My dog died when I was 6. Oh, how I cried. I said to the government, can you pass a law making it illegal for people to kill puppies with poisoned dog food? And, you know, make the whole population stay at home for a year while we track down the perpetrator. Nobody did that for me because the common good has got nothing to do with your personal tragedy. Your personal tragedy has got nothing to do with me. Nobody gives a fuck about you. And that's just as it should be. Nobody gives a fuck about me. I don't want the government thinking about me. Oh, what would Deke like? Oh. By the way, if you thought there was a common good, you're deluded. There's no such thing as a common good. This lie of the common good is just that. There is no common good. What would be good for everybody is being left alone to live their life. This communist mantra that there is a common good and that somehow everything should be done so that everybody is well and happy is demonstrably false. I don't even have to look very far to see suffering and inequality and injustice that have pervaded our society for decades, nay, hundreds of years. Hungry children, poverty-stricken families, our entire country of landless peasants disenfranchised from the land by a aristocracy who owns everything of value, including us, like livestock. And you want me to give up what little freedom I've got so your friend doesn't catch the flu and die one day. Someone I never met, don't know, and don't give a fuck about. So also, fuck you. And anybody else who thinks that anybody else should give a fuck about them. You're here on your own. You're here on your own. It's your life to live. You would dream that the government and everybody else would leave you alone to live it. And that should come true. On with the news. In America, just so... and now the fucking news. In America, Donald Trump is sitting in the Oval Office taking big dumps on the floor. He is leaving the forthcoming Biden administration and, by extrapolation, the American people with big steaming dollops of Trump shite all over the Oval Office before he goes. Because he can. Donald Trump is pulling the military out of Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan and other places. But that's not the kind of steaming tolly that I'm talking about. No, that story, Donald Trump is pulling out the military. Oh no, oh no, what? Oh, Donald Trump is not subjugating far-off countries full of sand niggers to American military oppression, unnecessarily and unjustified by lies about weapons of mass destruction and 9/11 that were never true. Oh no, what a bad man. What a bad man Donald Trump is. How dare he not keep hundreds of thousands, if not millions of young Americans wrapped in Kevlar body armor, fearing for their sniper headshot life in nations that really don't want them and shouldn't have them there. Meanwhile, no, the Tories dumping onto the Oval Office. Donald Trump is, I believe, attempting to negotiate immunity, not from coronavirus, but from prosecution. Donald Trump already has, an impending sword of Damocles over the top of him of litigation and legal cases, potentially even criminal cases, waiting on him when he steps out of the president's shoes. And so his failure to share briefings with the Biden administration and the other difficulties and unpleasantness that he is currently creating in the White House are, I believe, his bargaining counter for immunity from prosecution. Or as Lone Wolf, a good friend of mine, was saying last night, all he's got to do is resign 2 days before the inauguration, make Mike Pence president, and have him give him a pardon, which, if the Democrats don't pardon him, I would imagine is a strong possibility. And we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Right, fewer interested in getting the COVID-19 jab. Ministers have work to do to allay fears over the COVID vaccine. A survey of Britons suggests that those who would definitely take a vaccine has dipped from 50% to 43%. Oh, interesting. The survey found that a further 23% would probably get vaccinated. So take 43 and 32, I think that is, and you get 75. That still leaves 25% of people not taking a vaccine, even under a good day. But that should be enough for herd immunity. And if you feel like being a member of the herd, meh, don't let me stop you. Meh. If you feel like being a member of the herd, you just toddle right along on your cloven hooves. And Dinosaurs, says this headline, were doing just fine before extinction. I guess there was a a theory once upon a time that the asteroid which hit the Earth 65 million years ago only hastened the demise of dinosaurs, that they were, if you like, an evolutionary cul-de-sac that was doomed anyway. But it turns out the latest research shows that dinosaurs were actually doing just fine. They were thriving, and had it not been from that giant rock from space, mammals would never have evolved and become the life form that we are, dominating the planet and shaping it as we wish. And it's a shame, isn't it, for the dinosaurs? Who knows what they could have been? They could have developed opposable thumbs and built bicycles and power stations and electric lights. And they could have done what we've done, which is create a virtual asteroid that has reprocessed our atmosphere and is dooming us to the consequences that they faced. Runaway climate change, a super hot planet with no ice, and agriculture ending on most of the continents. Who knows how that will play out for us? And maybe crocodile people are the future of Earth, or cockroach people. Both of these life forms are likely to do well. Or jellyfish people. An underwater empire and civilization of intelligent jellyfish, living in a warm soup of acidic algae and stagnant seawater. We'll never know unless we have a time machine. Meanwhile, the last white giraffe on Earth has been tagged with a GPS transponder. I think there might be actually two of them. They are the last two white giraffes. And I think conservation groups, conservation in this case is obviously a joke. I think the reason that they've tagged them is so they can find their corpse. Because obviously, if you're down to your last breeding pair, you are de facto gone. That's it. When they die, we'll probably stuff them and mount them so that we can say this was the last white giraffe. They're only one in a long list, by the way. The background rate of extinction is over 100 species a day. 100 species a day, caused primarily by humans, habitat destruction, and other things. Here's a story about the mental health emergency caused by the coronavirus lockdown. More than a third of people say the pandemic will have a negative effect on their mental health in the future. More than a third of Scots will suffer a negative effect on their mental health in the future, research shows. The Royal College of Psychiatrists found that for those who'd experienced mental health problems before the pandemic, it had worsened, and 40% of those questioned think that the pandemic will damage their mental health over the next year. The Royal College of Psychiatrists is calling for more investment and commitment to mental health services. Why? Why bother? Don't spend a penny on these quacks. Psychiatry, as practiced in Britain anyway, I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, is a horrible, demeaning form of quackery. It goes a bit like this. You have a mental health problem. I'm a highly trained psychiatrist, and I can give a name to what you have and give you a pill to swallow. Are you ready? You're suffering from existential bloody-bloodyism. Here's a pill from Roche. Goodbye. These people are inept quacks. Their only function in the medical community is to give a name to something they think you've got and give you a pill from a company that will bludgeon your brain into submission and remove any sense of reality from your mind whatsoever. So you'll no longer have a mental health issue because you'll no longer have mental health. You see how that works there? If your brain has been completely fucked by some strange chemical goo handed out by a quack sitting underneath a certificate which says, able to give a name to some pish they think you suffer from, then you will no longer have mental health, and therefore you will be cured of ill mental health. You can see how that works there. Psychiatry and psychology are, of course, not actually sciences. They're not sciences because they lack a unit of measurement. A bit like economics. Economics is not a science because it lacks units of measurement. It's not predictable. Outcomes are not consistent. And it's the same in psychiatry and psychology. These people are basically verbose bullshitters. People with a large vocabulary of bullshit and a hand on a big bag of pills. Drivers to receive grants to switch from petrol cars to atomic powered cars. It doesn't say that, but that's essentially what it is. Drivers will be offered grants worth thousands of pounds to buy low emission or electric cars. Low emission where? Not low emission where they were made. See, in Turkey where they're making them and spewing the factory's emissions straight into the Earth's atmosphere, they're not low emission there. See, in China when they're pumping out your Qashqai or whatever it is, it's not low emission as it's being made. The steel that was made for it is not low emission. The copper in the wiring, not low emission. The aluminium smelted for the block is not low emission. There's nothing low emission about any ton of metal that has ever been made on planet Earth. It's a lie. And you middle class, Guardian readers and people who recycle your rubbish, I hope you keep sucking that giant cock of lies until you are drowned in nuclear waste and your children grow 3 heads and glow in the dark. Jeremy Corbyn has been allowed back into the party after his suspension is overturned. This is in the UK. The former leader of the opposition, a man who lost 2 elections for the Labour Party, was suspended from the Labour Party because of something he said that wasn't nice enough about a report into anti-Semitism. That's really it. Honestly, I kid you not. The Labour Party commissioned an independent report into anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. The report said there was anti-Semitism and that it wasn't taken seriously. And Jeremy Corbyn said, well, I think it was somewhat overstated. And he was suspended from the Labour Party for saying what he thought. He's now been reinstated. 3 weeks after he was suspended, he has been reinstated after he was suspended for saying anti-Semitism within the Labour Party, claims of anti-Semitism within the Labour Party were overstated. I would go further than Jeremy and say that it's irrelevant whether a person is anti-Semitic. It's my right to not like Jews or Muslims or Christians or Moonies or Scientologists or Sikhs or Hindus or anybody. I don't have to like anybody. I'm sure I've said this before. Anti-Semitism is a thing. I don't have to like Jews. I really don't. Any prejudice you have towards me, any discrimination I face from anyone because I don't like Jews should be illegal. It should be utterly illegal to discriminate against me because I don't like Jews, Muslims, Christians, Moonies, Scientologists, or anyone else. And yet, it isn't. In fact, the laws that were passed about discrimination are to enforce compliance with letting these people get away without criticism. Anybody who believes anything should be open to ridicule. Open to ridicule. Widely, repeatedly, by me, on a daily basis. Fuck you and your bizarre beliefs. Really. And I should never ever suffer any disadvantage in my employment, in my private life, in the provision of services to me, or my access to political expression, or membership of political parties. Nothing should ever be done to anybody who says they don't like people who have bizarre religious beliefs. And that we live in a world where it is routinely done, and it is culturally acceptable to dismiss, deplatform, censor, and shut people up, sack them, and even arrest them for their views, is evidence that we live in a totally fascist society. Should you have needed any, failure to share briefings means bigger COVID death toll, says Joe Biden in a fear-mongering statement. The remarks were the president-elect's strongest yet over Trump's failure to acknowledge his election loss and cooperate with the incoming administration. Whatever. I'm sure that will all work out. I strongly suspect Donald Trump will receive immunity, and that Joe Biden will take office. Hillary Clinton will become the dictator at the UN, and American military might will return to wherever Donald Trump removed it from, to subjugate the local people to the will of the United Nations and the global one world government that American military power backs up. I hope all the taxpayers in America who are paying for this global party of veiled threatdom are happy with the amount of money it's costing you to provide an army to a bunch of unelected, technocratic, behind-the-scenes globalists. For that is what it will be used for. Well, Chinese rocket to bring back piece of the moon. Chinese space technicians have moved a massive rocket into place in preparation for launching a mission to bring back material from the moon for the first time in 4 decades. This will be a robot recovery process. The mission is named Chinese Moon Goddess. Is among China's most ambitious space program, and is headed towards putting a man in space. Putting a man on the moon within a decade. That'll be interesting. I'm sure space wars are in the offing. Wouldn't it be great to see, a couple of people in on the moon battling it out for supremacy over a scrap of rare earth minerals? Wouldn't that be great? I'd pay to see that movie. Imagine the sort of mixed martial arts combat on the surface of the moon, where gravity's 1/6 of Earth. Think of the flying leaps and jumps and punches, and I love a good movie. There's some other actually science fiction news before we round up. SpaceX launched the first commercial flight of people to the space station recently, demonstrating the supremacy of private enterprise over taxpayer-funded, socialist, costly, wildly inefficient projects. And if you wanted an example of that, at the same time, and in the same kind of vein of space exploration, the European space rocket blew up. I think it was a few months ago. They lost 2 satellites. The rocket blew up. I forget what it was called. And they've had an investigation, and they discovered that the wires that controlled the thrusters to give the rocket direction, they got crossed over. And so when they wanted to turn the rocket this way, it actually turned that way instead. What do you expect when you build a rocket in Europe where people speak 12 different languages, and the word for left changes from sinistra to every single time? Honestly, it's a recipe for disaster. I'm surprised they could build a rocket in Europe, never mind launch it and destroy it. What else happened in science? Oh yes, the giraffe. Right, okay, I think that's about it. The beat goes on. It ain't weird enough for me yet. Compulsory vaccination supported by Collaborators. The growing and rising tide of voices against anyone who refuses to comply, anybody who refuses to obey, anybody who refuses to go along with this stupidity. And I return to my theme at the opening piece. The collaborator who left a message saying, the reason that nobody died is because the infection mortality rate is so incredibly low. Do people not see the bankruptcy and the vacuum of intelligence and justification for doing this to us? There is no pandemic. There is a virus. I'd like to be very clear. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I am not a conspiracy theorist. There is a virus called COVID-19, SARS-2. It does kill people, including your 19-year-old friend. Oh no! Let me just lock myself up and divest myself of freedom and liberty on the behalf of someone I never met and don't give a fuck about. No, I won't be doing that. Let me just go along with a government's wildly and unjustified stripping me of my liberty over a disease which would struggle to kill my ancient granny. It really would. Infection mortality rates of 0.23% are nothing to be afraid of. People die all the time, and nobody gives a fuck. They really don't. And so the idea that I would give a fuck about maybe 50,000 people in Britain dying from the flu one year, enough to shut down my business, lock myself up, not travel, and sit in the house playing Monopoly and doing Zoom quizzes is beyond absurd. But what's more worrying, never mind that I would be persuaded to do that. What's more worrying is that you would want to make me, and that you would type something as frightening as, if compulsory fascism is required to protect me from people like you, I'm all for it. Well, what's to protect me from people like you? What's to protect me and all the other liberty-loving individuals from the masses of collaborators bearing down on us with their support for government-enforced fascism, totalitarianism? People, the day when you are dragged out of your house into an army truck and taken to a medical facility on the outskirts of town is just around the corner. I swear. And the people, the kind of guy who left that message, he will cheer them on. He will cheer them on, pat the army on the back and call them fucking heroes while they do it to you. I hope you have a great day. I really do. I hope that today you have fun, that there's a song in your heart and a dance in your step. See you tomorrow.